Alright, greetings everybody and welcome to another video. Today on Umber Ray Talks Too Much, we're going to be talking about one of the more recent videos that I did. Just a little bit of a follow-up on it, because fair is fair. And then I just want to say one quick word, and the second half of this video is going to be JP News. We'll get to the vision card. Alright, so first off, I would like to shout out Hades 2, which was a ton of fun to play today. I really enjoyed it. It's early access, so if you're not into early access games, fine. Supermassive is absolutely an awesome developer who does early access right. If you want, it's on Steam. It's about $30 and it has more content than Hades 1, and it was a ton of fun. Totally recommend it. Okay, shameless plug for somebody else out of the way. Number 2, talking about the video that I recently did, Salty and Bitter, which was an interesting video because lots of people out there not super enthused with it. Also, a good number of comments that said that they did like it. Want to shout out the other side, ones who, were a different opinion from me, because of course there's matters such as Greatness, who did it on his first try. Good for you. Awesome. What else? Hilario Martinez, who's doing it, gonna try it with a team of full Oldoas. Please let us know how that goes. Garukin was able to clear it. BC Gunner, and then there's a bunch of stuff. Light Yami, who's like blah 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 blah, makes it difficult as teamwork. And yes, I do agree that it is hard to get people together with their lives outside to sit down and do the time, get everything together. You have to get on Discord, maybe communicate, because not a lot of people have the chat open. And I do want to shout out one more thing about that, which is that if you're playing on emulator or even some phones, there are some difficulties where the game crashes, hangs up, you get disconnected. I'm not going to say that. I'm also going to say that while it's really cool that lots of people out there on global are trying different comps, some reincarnated, some not. Some people are still having difficulty with it. Some people are not feeling in love with it. So I again would like to stress that I'm always a fan of accessibility, more options for people to do some of the stuff and feel part of it. It could have been done. And I do feel like some of Gumi's stuff is becoming more exclusionary to people and just way too long. But that's a different video for another week. I want to do my next one about Veritas units. But really cool that some people are helping people get through it. I do think it's cool that a lot of people are interested in it. And it's great to see that lots of people commented on the video and entered into a discussion, and a bunch of people providing a good written response as opposed to just one sentence answers that don't really add that much. Anyway, I always advocate for more difficulty options for more people to play the game. That is my stance, and that will continue to be my stance, but it's cool to see that, and I hope to hear more about this in the future. More discussion is always good. Cool to have people engage. So thanks so much for that. Anyway, all right, dear viewer, I've gotten all of my stuff out of the way, and this time on this recording, we're only about 4 minutes in, so I'm doing real good. Let's talk about one more thing, and then I'll come back to the Ashen Mont trial. First, one last thing I want to show off at the end of this video. All right, so the news today for JP is not too terribly much, although we are supposed to be having the box trial event, which will have Cloud's smartphone, which will give benefits to all the Advent Children characters, and no, none of the other Final Fantasy VII characters, as far as I know so far. I don't think that's changed. So let's talk Limit Burst upgrades. Sadali, Dion, and Ibarra are all getting their Limit Burst upgrades. I don't know if I have too much hope for most of these. Like on incredibly older characters, there's probably a chance for them to overcompensate. I wouldn't be surprised if Ibarra got a little bit too much compensation in terms of Limit Burst to try and push her. But I think that Sadali is the one to watch, just because he has kind of stuck around for a good long period of time, and he could become a pain in the ass again. If, I don't know, maybe they give him Curse. Whatever, we'll see. Could happen. Next up, for Master Quest 2, Raph, Hayu, and Gargle will all be getting theirs. They're free upgrades. It'll be nice. I don't think it will make too much of a difference given the way things have currently gone. Moving on. Next up, the Advent Children Vision Card, the last thing from the Advent Children collaboration, short of the equipment that I mentioned slightly earlier. This is a Holo VC. It will be coming out. Wait a minute. Hold on. No, yeah, it doesn't say up here, but it says down here, Holo VC. I got momentarily excited that we didn't have a Holo VC. Whatever. Anyway, Cloud and his blushing bride-to-be, Kadaj, together at last in holy matrimony. Jokes aside, the VC is a 60 cost job VC, and the main ones this time around are spear, bow, katana, and staff. And I briefly checked. I do believe it is the Shawls party because it makes the most sense here. But that's not too terribly what I'm focused on. What I am focused on for the meantime is what this is giving us. So single for the party, single attack resistance up as well as defense up. For maxing out the VC, you will also get increased human killer during physical attacks. And for quests only, critical rate increased, which is interesting that this is a, just a quest VC, as it's generally wouldn't normally be that. What else? Oh yes, talking about this, we'll talk about the party effects in a second here. This is obtained through the Final Fantasy VII Collaboration Vision Summoning Metal C exchange. So if people were curious whether this is a free, that is not the case. This is yet another gacha VC, which is one of the things I was not super positive about it earlier. Granted effect, attack up and hit up. Also activation for quests only. Piercing attack resistance of 3 and blow, or strike. It's always called blow. It's like fist. Blow with your fists. But for Globalers, strike resistance. So taking a look at this VC, Quest is a little bit of a disappointment, but again, Sephiroth is one of the strongest characters in the game, period. I don't think it's too disappointing given that you're essentially getting like a VC that mostly works anyway. This for single target resistance will make Sephiroth harder to kill. Defense up will make him harder to kill, and healing killer will make him more deadly than he already was. So all of these things are generally good, and taking a look at the just team synergy that we're looking at here, it's quite great. For like fire, wind, and possibly even thunder too. Fang could generally benefit from this VC quite easily with other spear VCs that have happened recently. I think this is okay. There's the possibility of Bulk being on this team. There's the possibility, even though he won't benefit too much, it doesn't really matter. Dario works with this. Fly Glassy might become relevant again. We might not be done with her quite yet, because she may actually get enough of a DPS boost and get enough resistance here that she might actually be really good with Sephiroth, since spears are kind of good. There's also just the multi-elemental spear facet that you could potentially also get out of this with the new version of Old. I mean, this VC is also just generally pretty good for spears and spear-only teams, which, as I talked about in a previous video, doing pretty well for themselves. Really want to cut the mustard. Old Volk and like just another spear unit right now. Win Veritas is a super powerful team, and they would benefit really nicely from this VC on top of everything else. So, I mean, you look at this, I mean, there's also Setia with the bow potentially being interesting in here. There's a bunch of different avenues you could take in terms of team building that seem interesting for me, and it seems to cover a lot of different stuff. You can get defensive characters in here, you can get offensive characters in here. It seems like a nice VC. The only thing is that it's not super, like, it's obviously not, you're not getting any extra benefits for PvP, which is one of the places that players might have been the most interested in for this. So, I mean, you're just getting a little bit of a quest bonus. It's nitpicky given how good the VC seems, but yeah, I mean, I generally think it's pretty okay. Wind and fire have gotten along pretty well, and this synergizes very nicely there. Or hell, maybe you just go all katanas. I don't know, but cool. In combination with the other equipment, it should make sure that Sephiroth is a really good DPS going forward. All right. That's essentially, I think, most everything. There's probably going to be a few more snippets of news, but nothing that is really big. May the 9th is when this will be taken into effect. So now let me drop in to a video that we have mustered up here from a JP player with a new solution for people who are still struggling and want a way through. We will always publish new stuff that we haven't seen before. So this is from Iga, a Japanese YouTuber who posted this video. And once again, the most key unit here is Vivi. Vivi is up to 140. You'll notice him with very particular equipment. Lots of speed equipment, lots of things to maybe help him survive. And then we got a range character. I wonder what the strategy is. So basically, you just kind of hum along. I'm not going to take up too much time. But essentially, you put Vivi into this spot and get him to cast a specific spell. Sorry, let me just pop back for a second. So he gets into this spot, casts a couple of abilities. One of those abilities is actually a kind of well, it's like a little teleport. You cast it, you move down a little bit. Mont gets one last brief second of freedom before the eternal hell that we are about to put him into. And zip zop zooey, if you will. Vivi will put him in the corner, and there he shall stay. Vivi's going to move down there to the only spot that is capable of moving and petrify himself, which, yeah, if this sounds familiar, it was a strategy that was employed on Moraga back when he came out, and JP players have found a way to do it again. I don't know, Globalers, if you guys found it out first, but I'm going to elect to say that it was a JP player, and it doesn't really matter. If it wasn't, somebody figured it out first, and it works. But heads up for people who want to do this, it is incredibly slow, as you have a ton of mobs to get through before you can really clear this, so it takes a lot more time than other methods and everything like that. You're probably best just to get people together if you even want to do it, or just ignore it at this point because there isn't too much time left. But I thought I would present with another interesting solution for people to potentially get through, and kind of a funny one. The only other thing I want to say at the real tail end of this video is I like stuff like this. I just want to talk about another Final Fantasy, which is Final Fantasy 13. 13 has a super boss in it that you essentially fight by surviving and whittling him down with poison. And it's one of my favorite boss fights and one of the most memorable boss fights in all of Final Fantasy history to me, just because that idea is so foreign. Like when you think about so many different bosses, a lot of the time you don't use status effects on enter bosses. That's kind of a thing I like about the Realm Scourge fight too, is using some of these status effects that we never get to use in kind of interesting ways. With poison, it's kind of like outlasting them and using their own strength against them. I wish we have more ideas like this, creative, rather than just stat sticks, which is sometimes what it feels like. But anyway, that's a little aside. I have brought this to you. You can do with whatever you want with it, but if you want to replicate it on global, go ahead. All you need is a BB, some dreams, and I don't know, maybe about an hour or so of time to get through it, because you got a lot of units to kill before you get there. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. If there's any other news, we'll bring it to you later, but till then. Bye.